It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We are always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And live is why you still listen to the radio. Live is why you join us on YouTube or the Odyssey app. Because live is the only place you can have a host who was ready to go and say something totally different 10 seconds ago when the open of his show was playing, and then be told breaking news in his ear that he's been waiting for basically his entire career in this city, and then he gets to tell you. I'm Craig Hoffman. I'm that host, and the news is that the Commanders have all but secured their future at RFK Stadium. It is a reportedly close to $3 billion deal, of which the Commanders are going to contribute $2.5 billion. Now, that is the headline. This news is literally so fresh, I have not gotten past the headline yet. There is reporting from NBC4 and others. Anthony, I will tell you, we should try to get everybody on that we possibly can on the phone. Call our friends at the Post. Call our friends at NBC4. Somebody get Eric Flack on the phone from WUSA 9 because we need him. I'm going to read quickly from NBC, or I'm going to read at a pace that you can hear me. But the words that are about to come out of my mouth, I'm reading for the first time. This is news to me as it's news to you. From NBC4, D.C. is close to a deal worth more than $3 billion to bring the Washington Commanders back to the district and build a new stadium at the RFK Stadium site. The deal isn't final as negotiations are ongoing, so the number could change, but multiple sources familiar with the deal told News 4 that Mayor Muriel Bowser and the Commanders have the framework for a deal in place that would see the team paying the vast majority of the costs to build a new stadium and much of the money provided by the city going for infrastructure that will support the entire 180-acre development. The Commanders would put up as much as $2.5 billion, and the district would provide up to $850 million, documents obtained by News 4 show. DC's funding would go toward what are referred to as eligible capital costs associated with the stadium and infrastructure for the stadium and surrounding 180-acre campus, including parking structures that will serve the entire development. The district's investment would be paid in installments, with the first $500 million paid out between 2026 and 2030 for various portions of the work as the stadium and infrastructure are completed. The other $350 million would be paid in 2032 through taxes generated from the new development to cover costs of the stadium or stadium infrastructure. The final contribution by the team could be less than $2.5 billion, sources familiar with the negotiations told NBC4. The deal calls for the stadium and stadium parking to be completed by fall of 2030. Commanders owner Josh Harris has been clear he wants a new stadium ready for the 2030 season. Mayor's office and Commanders declined to comment to News 4. At a press conference Monday, Mayor Bowser announced the 2026 budget is complete and ready to go to D.C. Council. If the mayor has a deal for a new stadium, it will have to be in the 2026 budget. Okay. Now that we have all the information, there is a lot to process here. First of all, about $3 billion for a stadium and surrounding area feels, frankly, a little bit low, but not by much. I say that because I'm pretty sure SoFi was a $5 to $6 billion project, and that was a couple of years ago. That was also in Los Angeles, and while D.C. is not cheap, Los Angeles is something far beyond that. It is incredibly expensive. I am curious to see what kind of stadium that means. There's been renderings that have been flying around of various people, some official, some unofficial, some predate this administration and thus are useless. Some are more recent. So what does that mean? Is this a smaller stadium, hence the smaller price tag? Are we talking about a 50,000 seat type of stadium? Are we talking about retractable roof or no? Are we talking about dome or no? There's a lot, obviously, that can lead to that number. But I think the most important thing is a genuine good job to the city to make the actual football stadium be produced by the football team. That is set in a much larger context and background right now, and there's no way to avoid politics in this. So this conversation is for mature audiences only, and by mature, I mean you must be an adult who's able to talk about politics and realize that they are not inextricable from sports, and especially on something like this. The current presidential administration does not like the city of D.C. It's just a fact. And whether you, again, what I'm going to say are facts. I shouldn't have to caveat all this stuff, but people get really sensitive. And so I'm just going to say things that are factual, and I'm going to do my best to not assign positive or negative connotations to either the positions or to people who agree or disagree with them. I'm just going to try to describe to you the best I understand it, the state of play. The current presidential administration does not like the city of D.C. They are a presidential administration that cares a lot about who people voted for and whether or not you support them. And the city of D.C. is high 80s to low 90s% Democrat and did not vote for Donald Trump for president. He knows that he is not a person who is well liked within the city limits of the District of Columbia, and that doesn't sit well with him. And so if he and many other people in his administration who feel similarly can hurt the city of D.C., they will. I don't mention that haphazardly. I mention that because in one of the recent budget proposals, they were going to, because for reasons that go back to the 1700s, the federal government is responsible for the District of Columbia's budget and for a lot of governance of the city, even though we're adults here and we can govern ourselves just fine, if they would let us. They were going to cut $1 billion of the D.C. budget. There's not a lot of money in D.C. right now. Now, one part of Congress passed a resolution to fix that part of the funding bill. And then there's still hope that that is going to get passed through the other side, the other chamber of Congress, and that ultimately that part that felt very vindictive and also, frankly, would have cut public safety quite a bit, would have really hurt a lot of schools and teachers and obviously kids and the public services in D.C. Would have been thrashed by that can be taken out of this bill. And thus, if that is not, though, and if there is pressure between now and 2028, when there's a potential for a different administration presidentially, and really 2026 on some level, when the Congress could change over to a Democratic Congress, which would be more favorable to the district, the funding of anything in the city is complex and complicated. That said, I am sure that the commanders are well aware of this and know that there is only so much, both functionally and politically, that the city government that they are mainly working with, specifically the mayor's office and then ultimately the city council, can take. This is not a city council. While the mayor definitely wants this to happen, city council is far more split. And if they want to get this through, the commanders were going to have to contribute very, very large chunks of money. And the fact that Josh Harris was like, we didn't buy this team to screw around. We have, between our ownership group, immensely deep pockets. Yes, they collectively had to pay $6 billion for the team. And on some level, like, hey, man, I just paid $6 billion. I don't have a lot more, is one side of it. But there's also that I just paid $6 billion. I didn't do that to then be cheap. And that seems to be the approach that Josh Harris has taken here, is I'm going to now spend the money after spending the money to make sure my investment is worth it, because all this stuff is going to help increase the value of my brand. Winning is going to help, so I'm going to spend what it takes to win. The team is going to be worth more with RFK as its home. We're going to do what we need to do to make that happen. And it seems like that is the case. Again, if you're just tuning in, multiple reports say DC and the Commanders have almost closed on a deal. They are close on a $3 billion stadium project that would include infrastructure around the neighborhood at RFK that would bring the Commanders back to D.C. starting in 2030. The Commanders contributing up to $2.5 billion of that. But the parks, the restaurants, and some of the other infrastructure, if there's housing in this development, some of that is going to be subsidized, if not paid for, by the city. And that, to me, as a district resident, if that's what my tax dollars are going towards, is making my city a better place, I'm fine with that. If I'm going to be able to go and hang out and I mean, shoot, professionally, it could be some cool places to broadcast live from. But personally, just like, hey, another area in town that's going to be a cool place to hang out. If you're going to games, it's going to be a better experience because there's enough parking. And, you know, I assume some of the infrastructure money is going to go to revamping the metro station to make sure that that is a viable way to get to and from RFK Stadium, whether you're going for a game or going to a restaurant or another, shop, whatever in the area. I think that this is kind of the dream, is that you have something more than just a football stadium that is busy for 10 days a year, or hopefully with some playoff games, 12, and then some concerts. You want the investment to be much more for the city, for the people of the DMV, and it's frankly better for the Commanders. And with the political backdrop being what it is, in the timeline that we're dealing with here, it meant the Commanders were going to have to foot a lot of the bill. And I think also just at any point in this city, because a lot of the city being a more progressive in their politics is not going to look at a bunch of billionaires and go, yeah, we'll give you money for a stadium. It's like, no, you bought the team. We love the team. We understand that we want it here, and we'll pay some, because that means the city gets to be, or the team gets to be in our backyard as opposed to having to go to Landover or Virginia or wherever else. You're paying for proximity. But ultimately, on a moral level, we're all trying to get by right now. You got $1 billion, y'all foot the bill. And the fact that Josh Harris and Mitch Rales and Magic Johnson and on down the list of minority partners they have did not blink at that, I think speaks well to who they are. They understood what they were getting into, and I'm very excited to learn more about this. I have no idea what the rest of our show looks like now. Anthony, have we heard from any potential guests on this yet? Have you booked someone silently that I don't even know about?
So right now we're seeing if Seagraves will do interviews.
Okay. He's the one who broke the story from NBC4.
Okay. I spoke with JP. He's, trying to figure out some more details as well. So
okay. So hopefully we'll have someone. I'll send some texts in the break here as well, and we'll see what we can do. So we will have someone on this. We also we're going to start off with a lighthearted, fun tale of our day. We were at the Mystics intro press conference, had a great chat with Jamila Weideman. We'll try to get that in later on in the show. I also caught up with Neil Ivey, the head coach at Notre Dame women's basketball, of course, Coach Sonia Citron. So we will, luckily for us, that is a taped interview, so we can move things around as we need. Today we have some flexibility, so we will figure some things out. We also have some NFL draft stuff, but this is obviously, literally, Anthony, I remember getting here in 2015, and this was a story that I was covering then. Literally my entire career in this city has been, will the Commanders return to RFK? Where's their next stadium going to be? So we might, we're throwing out the rundown. So we'll continue to talk about this next here on the Team 980. Washington Commanders are coming home. They're going to RFK Stadium per NBC4. It's going to take a while. It's a long journey. Those of you stuck in traffic right now know. Going from Ashburn to D.C., it's quite the trip. It's going to take the Commanders till 2030 to get there, but according to NBC4, we have a $3 billion+ deal with up to 2.5 of that coming from the Commanders. We are light on details at the time, but Mark Seagraves of NBC4 was able to get his hands on some documents as part of the 2026 budget that Mayor Bowser is submitting, and in it are details on some level of the deal that is going to bring the Commanders back to D.C. We kind of knew this would be the timeline because of the budget stuff. I remember talking to our good buddy Eric Flack just a couple of weeks ago, and basically he was like, this thing's going to be over like sooner than you realize. Because in my mind, it's like, this is going to drag out again. And so often these deals have gotten done, obviously, I mean, the budget fight that they had in, what was it, March, February, where this thing was dead and then it wasn't, and they saved it at the last second, and it happens in the middle of the night. And this was kind of the last straw. If they didn't get this done, it probably was never going to be RFK. And they're able to figure it out with the fighter planes and whatever the hell else was in that deal with Maryland. Chuck Schumer's, figuring out. Actually, this wasn't even February. This was like December. This was still in 2024, and just a crazy sequence of events. And in my head, it was like, it's gonna, this will happen at the end of the year again. But because the budget resolution is due in city council and from the mayor's office now, we have some level of resolution on this. And while we work on getting some guests to talk about this and some details and all that kind of stuff, I want to just open up the phones at 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980 is, of course, our phone number. And just get your reaction to this, because this is, forget the details. I think sometimes I go into just like journalist mode, and I'm like, we got to find out more. We got to report. We got to get this. We got to get the facts. And like, of course, we need the facts, and we want to be as informed as possible. But by the same token, this is just like a massively emotional moment. And so I was pulling up the YouTube chat. I see some of you guys going crazy in there. Read some of those comments in a second. But I also just want to open up the phones and let you guys talk, especially those that went to games at RFK back in the day. That this means, or you maybe have your dad, your mom, your grandpa, your grandma, your aunts, your uncles who tell you about going to games at RFK and what it means to see this team return to the stadium that it called home for its glory years, and kind of leave a place that we finally have a couple good memories in. That Hail Mary will go down in Commanders lore, and if that winds up being the best moment in FedEx Field history, that's perfectly fine, I think, with everybody, unless they can, of course, top it with some kind of dramatic win of an NFC Championship game that gets them to the Super Bowl. But, like, it doesn't get much better than that from a regular season moment. But outside of that and the other moments of magic that Jaden authored this year, there's not a lot of positive memories at FedEx Field. And it's a place that's mostly associated with the guy that we don't have to talk about anymore. It was not, he inherited it, but it was his house of horrors. And I'm definitely excited to see that, even if it was Landover 2.0, it'd be way better because Josh Harris is designing it and all that kind of stuff. But I am definitely excited to see this team return home. So 301-230-0980 is the phone number. 301-230-0980. Got a lot of YouTube comments in the meantime. Peel through these real quick as I pull the call screener up here, which is not working today. Heck of a time for that to go freezy kapoo on us. View from the man cave. Finally, the team will come home. K.81. Holy hell, I didn't think I'd live to see this. Ford, yay, back to RFK. Larry, pretty cool breaking story. Flame emoji. Gotta love the flame emoji. Yeah, say that, at least. Hot Fever says, good, got tired of that traffic on Sundays. Unless you live right by FedEx Field, and you're talking about people coming into your neighborhood, there's still going to be traffic getting to the games. But you got options because being able to get there on Metro just became a lot more accessible, assuming that there's going to be a lot of funds, obviously, that are allocated to fixing up the Metro station and making it game day accessible again at RFK at that site. Let's see. Door Gunner says the stadium should be built to let the seats shake again. I don't know how that works. And K-Dot says, I was there as a child. The stadium shaking will never escape my memory. To be clear, I'm not poo-pooing it. I don't know I'm not an architecture major. I wasn't an architecture minor. But if they can figure out how to get the stadium to feel like it's shaking while also being secure, I'm not opposed. I'm good for a good stadium shake. I'll have some crooked lines in my notes, assuming that I'm still taking notes in the stadium by 2030. Hope to be. This team's on the up and up. Why would I want to leave now? To the phones we go. If I can ever get this thing up. Anthony, just tell me who to get to. We got Bill first. Bill, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Look, man, I'm 60 years old, big-time Redskins fan, worked in the stadium when I was a teenager, was there through all kinds of great games, have all this nostalgia. I live 4 blocks from the stadium right now. I don't think anyone's speaking for this neighborhood. We don't want the stadium there, dude. And no one seems to respect that or even give us a voice in this. There's a whole I don't think the problem is going to be with the federal government. The problem is going to be with the local people there who don't want this. There's a lot better uses for that area. This is what they think. I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not even saying, like, I'm kind of excited, to be honest with you, but I just feel bad that the neighborhood doesn't want it, and they live there.
I mean, yes.
And no one's speaking up for them, dude.
Well, Bill, the only thing I would disagree about is that no one is speaking up for them because there are public hearings and things, and people are speaking up, and this still has to pass city council. And it's a good point to bring up before we get so far out over our skis to say this thing is done, because ultimately the people will have a vote.
Or that it's great. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, sure, and there is plenty of research by economists and all these kinds of things that say stadiums are bad for cities and all that kind of stuff. And I guess my question would be, Bill, to anybody that opposes, is where does it belong? Because you have 2 options, right? You can either put it somewhere where no one lives and it sucks to get to for everyone. And it's like going to the Meadowlands, for instance, in New York, blows. The highway stuff is a nightmare. Like, it's not convenient for anyone to get to. There's no part of getting to and from that stadium that is joyous. And plus, you have to watch the Jets and Giants play, and that part sucks too. But there's no part of it that's good. Or you can put it close to some people, and it's inconvenience for them if they don't go to the games or whatever. But typically, that's going to be part of a larger metro area where you actually have people that it's convenient to. And in this case, it's the most centralized location that is feasible in D.C. for not just the district, but for the DMV. And so it does come, I guess my question would be for the neighborhood then is like, oh, we don't want it here. Well, then where is it supposed to go?
But why is it their problem? What if Disney wanted to come in there and say, well, there's no better place to put it than here? We'd be like, well, why is that our problem? We don't want it here. We don't care where you put it. We don't want it here. So
because
why
you don't have to build a new Disney World,
because there's not a better place.
Well, then then if you're the team, you go, fine. Nobody wants us here. We'll move to what's a city that we'll move to Omaha. They'll take an NFL team.
I get that from a fan base point of view, and I'm a Commanders fan, and so I don't want them to move to Omaha, and I'm not even sure I don't want them to build at that site. I'm just saying that there's a whole contingent of people in this neighborhood who are really unhappy at this news, and it just feels like people dancing on our graves, acting like this is such a great thing, when it's not necessarily a great thing for the neighborhood. You walk through that neighborhood, you're a D.C. resident. I don't know if you're close to there, but you walk through that neighborhood all the way down to Eastern Market, you'll see lawn after lawn after lawn, these signs that say no billionaires playground or whatever they say. I'm not even saying I agree with them. I'm not even defending that argument. I'm just saying no one's defending that argument. No, well, you said not no one. You're right. But I'm just saying it just feels a little bit like people dancing on our graves, and no one's paying attention to the neighborhood who does not want the stadium, and it's not our problem on where this guy decides to put it.
Well, Bill, unfortunately, we're up against the clock, but I would love to continue this conversation another time. But I appreciate the call.
It, man.
And I really genuinely do appreciate Bill kind of raising that because, ultimately, it has to go somewhere. But if the people who live there already say not here, that's a factor. The problem is it's not the only factor. And you own your land or rent your land or whatever, and you have a say of what's going on around it. And then it's kind of the beauty of D.C. is it's very civically minded people. This is the smartest city, arguably, in the entire world, and one of the most engaged politically. And that is part of the reason why, not just in D.C., but Alexandria and Arlington and on out in the surrounding areas, why the Wizards are not going to Alexandria. The people of Alexandria were like, get the bleep out of here. And that died real quick, amongst other reasons why that project failed. And if ultimately the people in, I believe it's Ward 7, say no, then that's going to be something that's considered. But I think the goal is, and we can hopefully get more on this from Mark Seagraves or some of the other people that we'll have on over the course of the show, like part of what is going to happen here, hopefully, is a lot more than that. Part of this is yes, a football stadium. But it's also hopefully going to be shops and restaurants and things that benefit the community writ large, parks, green space that benefit. But right now, that area is just rotting. You have a giant concrete nothing sitting there that's going to be, that they're dismantling, and then a bunch of space that is not being used. So I get it that you might not want the traffic or the whatever else, and yeah, it sucks. Like, honestly, part of me, this is harsh, but like, welcome to D.C. I don't like when I'm late for appointments because the president, and I'm not just saying this current president or the last, any president, I've been here through 3 of them now. I've been late to work because of a presidential motorcade. The fitness, my old place that I used to train on the fitness side of my life was literally on the back side of the White House. I had clients cancel because they couldn't get there because of the president going to lunch or a protest or whatever, because stuff gets shut down in this city. And yeah, it's a little different because it's for a football versus, the leader of the free world or some diplomat or whatever going through. But like, this is part of life in this city. And it's part of life in a lot of cities. And if you don't want to live near the stadium, you've been there for a long time, I get it. It sucks. Also, that's an incredibly gentrified area. And there is definitely part of me that says if you are NIMBYing a stadium when you've NIMBY'd, not on my block, NIMBY, other people's housing of longtime communities that were there way before you and got priced out, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for you if that is you. So, not that that's everyone. There are people that have been there a long time that were there and hated the stadium there when their families were there the first time. But it's not simple, as I guess the easiest way to put it. Anthony, at this point, should I just keep taking calls and double up the segment here? Okay. Let's go to Kev. Kev, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, yeah, man. As a native Washingtonian, I'd like to know how many of those people who are complaining and moaning and crying about the stadium being rebuilt was original native Washingtonians. Since 1960-61, up until the soccer team stopped playing, there's always been sports at that stadium. There's a jail over there. And so you moved in there. How many of those people, like I said, just moved in there through when the regentrification of that area came into play? And now it's not like whatever. But if you poll Washingtonians who were born there or whatever about getting RFK being revitalized, and the thing about it is, from what they're talking about a multi-purpose use, you're talking about Super Bowls, you're talking about possible NCAA basketball, you're talking about other type of concert venues and stuff like that, and them improving the community as a whole. I don't think native Washingtonians are going to be upset about them doing something like that with that stadium.
Kev, I appreciate the call because I think it's totally relevant. Like if you moved into that area in the last 20 years, which is mostly when that stadium has been not in use. DC United still played there for, I think, some part of the last 20 years. I'd have to look up exactly when they stopped. It definitely in the last 20 years because the Nats, when they opened, they were at RFK, and that was less than 20 years ago. Like, I would kind of just look at you and be like, what did you think was going to happen? Well, they've been trying to do this for the entire time. Ever since it was possible that they were going to leave FedEx, which we all knew would happen eventually, probably at the end of the lease in 2027. Now that has been pushed back because they didn't get this deal done fast enough because Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen sucked at everything. They've always been trying to come back. So if you bought property there going, I don't know, stadium, like that's kind of on you. And again, I think people should have a say about the neighborhoods in which they live. I'm not unreasonable here. I'm not saying anything about like the people don't deserve a voice in the political process. I'm not even saying that you shouldn't protest if it's your neighborhood. I'm not trying to poo-poo your voice. I'm just saying this is a project that has implications and ramifications and trickle downs and all that kind of stuff far outside of literally your backyard. And sometimes that's part of being in a society, being in a larger civilization, being in a bigger thing where this thing, unless you want to lose the team. And look, there are some people who are not native Washingtonians who 1,000% would say, I don't care. I don't like football. Well, got news for you. You're in the minority. Sometimes the minority loses. And that's kind of where I'm at on that argument. Again, people can try to convince me otherwise. I'm open-minded on this in a lot of ways. But if you get your say, if you get to express your voice and you don't get your way, then that doesn't mean that people didn't hear you. It means you lost. You know, when you lose a game, on a football game, a basketball game, a soccer game, whatever, your points, your goals, your whatever, your runs, they were on the scoreboard. The other team just had more of them. And sometimes that's how it goes. And that's probably the end of that analogy, but like I think that is worth saying that, you know, there's a lot of people all around this city who want to see this and would happily, frankly, accept the stadium in their backyard. But this is the place where that stadium was for years and years and years and years. It is the spiritual home of the team. And the fact that you came in 5 years ago and decided to live, that you wanted to live there after generations of families got booted out is not exactly going to land well amongst the native Washingtonian crowd. 301-230-0980. Let's wrap up in Taylor, who's in Southeast and lives near the stadium. Taylor, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
What's up, Craig? Just want to give a different perspective for folks, man. I live near the stadium. I'm about a 5 to 7 minute walk from the stadium. And honestly, for me as a homeowner, this is a godsend because when this stadium is going to be built, my property value is going to go up. And if I don't want to leave, I'm probably going to make more money on my house when this stadium is built than if I leave now. And the other thing I want to mention too as well, Craig, is this. A lot of the folks that are complaining in my neighborhood about this stadium coming, they didn't have a lot to say when a lot of families, especially families of black folks, were moved out of Navy Yard for the National Stadium. So I find it very funny and hypocritical of some of the people that are complaining now about RFK coming but didn't say anything when the Nationals came to Navy Yard. I'll hang up and listen from here. Thanks, Craig.
Taylor, I appreciate that call, and I don't have a lot to add to that other than the stuff that I've already said and an amen. It's not, sometimes stadiums got to go somewhere. They either play somewhere around or you lose the team. And if you didn't pipe up on your morals, on your high ground, the last time a stadium was built in this city and displaced longtime residents, including many of color, then I'm not really that interested in your voice now, especially if it's because all of a sudden it's in your backyard. Your morals are your morals. Your values are your values when they apply to everyone, not when they just apply to you, because that's what morals and values are. Mic drop. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, and we're taking more of your calls next. To be honest, Anthony, I feel like we should just play go-go music for the rest of the show.
Say no more.
I mean, I honestly just kind of feel like we should do that basically every day for every segment, but, is what it is. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And we are reacting to breaking news reported by Mark Seagraves of NBC4, who will join us at 10 after. So about 22 minutes from now, Mark Seagraves, who broke this news on NBC4, will join us with more details. We'll ask him every question we can possibly think of about the news that the city, D.C., and the Commanders are near finalizing a deal that would bring the Commanders back to the district, to the RFK site. It's a $3+ billion deal. Commanders putting up $2.5 billion of that. I mean, it's still a lot of money, a lot of public money. Somewhere between 500, 800 million expected from the city. But part of that, the last payment, $350 million, is going to be generated by tax revenue in the area around RFK. It's going to be multi-purpose development. And so they get some of the stuff done, tax revenue starts to come in, and that helps finish things off in the final payment that is going to be made on all of the things that are due. That's the way I read the story. Mark will have more on the funding, the financing, what kind of stadium, what kind of roadblocks still exist, including what, say, the neighborhood has. But we're taking your calls on it at 301-230-0980. Jason, thanks for holding, man. Appreciate it. Jason's in Laurel. Thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. Jason going once, going twice. So I'll put him back on hold. Anthony, you can check if he's still there. Warren, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
All right. Greetings, gentlemen. Yes, I'm a native of Washington, D.C. In fact, I used to live on 17th and Mass Avenue, a block away from the stadium. But let me make something mention to that caller previously. When the Washington Redskins, now the Washington Commanders, used to play at the stadium, we had no issues with traffic. We had no issue with fans because the Washington Redskins at that time was a part of our culture. I currently live right now behind the soccer stadium, Audi Stadium. So I deal with the traffic from the Nat Stadium to the Audi Stadium. I have no problem with it because the residents get access passes to get home. So I'm looking at the revenue. I'm looking at the Super Bowl, the Summer Olympics. There's a lot of things that this stadium can do as far as an economic standpoint that will help the district as far as jobs. So, a lot of these, the geographics have definitely changed as far as in the District of Columbia. But it would bring great revenue. And then when you look at that area, it's like a hole in the wall. So I don't see where it's an issue, and only if they're newcomers as far as the stadium being built right there at the old RFK site.
Yeah,
because
Warren.
You got the jail.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Warren. I thought your phone cut out for a second, but you're still with us. Go ahead, finish up your call. You appreciate it.
So you got an old DC general. You got the jail still over there. So it needs an upgrade. So why sit there and allow a space just look abandoned and look void why not put something there that's going to bring some revenue or beautify the city? So I believe that's a great place to put the stadium back, and I think the fans will be very excited, especially those that's native Washington fans. Those that's from Washington, D.C., those from the surrounding area would love for the stadium to come back to that site.
Warren, appreciate the call. So I will try to lay out just for, pretend we're in philosophy class and we're laying out arguments. I think the counter argument is not to keep things the way they are, obviously. The counter argument is that you do something else with the site, that you build more park space, more affordable housing, more restaurants, more things that will generate revenue, but not a stadium. And a lot of that is backed by economists. And these economists love to say, and I've had them on the show before, and I've never walked away from one of those conversations with a good answer on a couple of key things, including like, okay, well then where is a good place to build a stadium? They don't ever seem to have an answer for that. Some are, I think, a little bit more straightforward than others about it. Some are just like, my whole personality is that I hate public funding for stadiums. And there's, like I had a good conversation, I thought, with Andy Zimbalist about this, who's an economist, who's a leading expert on this. And that the stadiums themselves tend to be not actually revenue generating because of the amount of public money that comes in. It doesn't wind up paying for itself. And then if you were to look at alternatives, that other things generate more revenue. And my argument against that is very simple. When you buy a movie ticket and go to the movies, you don't expect it to be an investment that you get back monetarily. You're paying for something to have the entertainment of it. If you were to build a pool in your backyard, you don't expect that pool to necessarily pay you back. Sure, it might if you sell your house at a higher property value, but directly, it's probably not going to pay you back. It's going to cost a lot of money to build. It's going to cost a lot of money to maintain, but you want it because your neighborhood might not have a pool, or maybe it does, and you're tired of having to share it with the kids that are running around, or some guy who plays terrible music is always seemingly on the aux. Whatever, you want your own private space. And so you're willing to pay for the convenience. You're willing to pay for the entertainment at the movie. You're willing to pay. It's okay to want to pay for something that you want to go to. And I think that's the way a lot of native Washingtonians and a lot of football fans in this area feel is, yeah, we know it's going to cost money. And the minute you say that way, people are like, okay, fine. The minute you're like, that money's going to be taxes, some people are like, not my taxes. And it's like, y'all should stop being so afraid of taxes. It's just money. It's money that is paid by all of us, so it costs a little less for all of us. And sure, if you are someone who is not a football fan and is not going to go to that stadium, one, you're probably not listening to the show, so I realize I'm preaching to the choir. But two, yeah, it sucks for you. There's other things that we pay for. I don't have kids yet. I pay money that goes to DC public schools. That's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. I hope that I don't need the fire department anytime soon. Most of the time, luckily, in my experience, when I've needed the fire department, it's because someone set off a smoke alarm or something triggered in my apartment complex, and there's a really annoying alarm going off, and we need them to turn it off. There's not an actual emergency. Luckily, that has been my experience so far, knock on everything around me that could possibly potentially be wood with the fire department. But I don't mind paying the taxes to support the fire department because I want it there just in case. Like, there are things we all pay for that are just a part of being in a society that we don't use as much. And yeah, a stadium, if you're not a football fan, is going to be one of them. But when that Beyonce concert comes to town, it's nice when she comes to DC and doesn't skip it. It'd be really cool when the U.S. was hosting the World Cup if the freaking nation's capital didn't get skipped because our stadium isn't up to par. That's what's happening in 2026. Guess what? There's a chance they just announced the Women's World Cup is coming in 2031. That stadium that is about to be built at RFK could very well host the final. That'd be cool. So this is just kind of how it goes. And I appreciate the perspective from so many of you on this, and we're going to continue to take your calls. We got time for a few more before we take another break and then come back with Mark Seagraves, who broke this story, next on the Team 980. Thank you, Anthony. Proper vibes have been set. Mark Seagraves, 10 minutes from right now, NBC4, he broke the story that the Commanders are returning to RFK if a deal that is close can go from close to finalized. It is a $3+ billion deal. That is the term, or what's in Mark's reporting. We will get all the details from him coming up in 10 minutes. We'll ring him for every detail that we can. Right now that we take more of your calls, 301-230-0980. We got Jason back, Anthony? All good? Okay, Jason's in Laurel. Jason, hopefully your phone works this time around. Appreciate you calling back in here to the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show. Love that you got to break this news. I really think everybody pro and con for this, everybody needs to take a deep breath. And the first caller you took on this, he was very adamant. I don't know why they're doing this. I get that, but I think what people don't realize is we do not live in a democracy. We live in a representative republic, and there are far more people that want this than don't want this. The mayor wanted it. The team owners wanted it. I think the majority of the fans wanted it. I get there may be 7,000 to 12,000 people that live in that area that aren't crazy about it. I totally understand. But I do think, and you had another caller that, and this will affect property values. I think what they're deciding on doing is bringing more shops and retail, so it will help, retail values of people's property and stuff. But you don't get to choose what businesses open next to yours. That's not the kind of country we live in. It's just not. We are a representative republic. And I think the majority of people want this. Me, I'm excited. I'm 51. The first game I ever went in that stadium, I was about 8 years old, and we were there 45 minutes before kickoff, and the stadium was shaking. And I looked down, and I'm looking at concrete, and the whole stadium is shaking. It was cool and scary all at the same time. I'm very, very excited, and I can't wait to see JD5 back in D.C. I'll listen to your comments. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, Jason, I appreciate it. And, it's not every day we can talk about differences between democracies and representative republics. Those two things can intertwine just fine. But I think the point is, like, on a lot of these conversations when it comes to freedoms and rights, like, there's an area of all of our lives where our rights and freedoms exist solely within things that affect us, and where we have to work together is where they intersect. So, yeah, if I'm a business owner, I don't get to choose who opens next to me, to a point, but in a city that's not like Houston famously has no zoning laws, and the idea that you could have a strip club next to an elementary school is actually a thing I think that really exists somewhere in Houston. But most cities have zoning laws to say, like, oh, okay, we can't pick explicitly who, but there are certain kinds of businesses that will concentrate in certain areas, or, hey, restaurants can or can't open here, bars can or can't open here because we're within X of a school and the traffic pattern, whatever that stuff goes into. So there are areas, obviously, where you have some say, but by the same token, like, you don't get to pick your neighbor. That's just not how that works, unless they have some kind of limitation on where they can live based off their previous criminal activity. And then maybe by the way the laws are written, you've already picked your neighbor. So there are things like that where I think we could get into a lot of nitty-gritty detail that's, I think, far too nitty-gritty for certainly this show and certainly right now without the level of detail that we have. Because I do think some of the devil will be in the details here. What is this multi-purpose use? What kind of transportation funding is there? Because I'll tell you right now, the 8 days a year of traffic going to a game, or 10 or whatever, 12, hopefully, that you have in terms of game day traffic. Oh, we want more affordable housing. So you want thousands of new people there every single day? What do you think that's going to do to traffic? So, like, some of the arguments, once you start to flesh them out, become very nuanced, very detailed, and I'm not going to pretend like I have the expertise. But I do think, by and large, majority of people that care about this team and this stadium, and certainly that's our audience, I realize that there's a lot more people living in D.C. than that, care. But I care more what the natives think than the transients. And I say that as someone who did move here, but considers myself, to the extent, like, I'll put it this way, to say I'm a native is belying of the term native. But D.C. is my home. I intend on being here as long as I possibly can. The only reason I can imagine myself moving is someone in another market somewhere or on a national whatever platform pays me a lot of money to be like, we need you to be here. And I'd be like, okay, well, at that point, I hope I can go back to DC one day. Or can I pull a Van Pelt at some point 20 years from now and be like, yeah, I want to go back there because this is home for me now. And so the transient folks that move in and out of here willy-nilly, like, I don't really care. All due respect, I don't care what you think about this. And that's kind of also, by the way, whatever it's politics alert. That's what I think about your opinions on this city in general. Like, leave us alone. We're adults. We're pretty smart. We can handle it ourselves. We'll take more calls as we go throughout the show. But next, we'll get the details from Mark Seagraves of NBC4, who broke this story. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. And we are reacting all show long to breaking news that was broken by our next guest. Mark Seagraves is a reporter for NBC4, and he threw our show for quite a loop about, I don't know, Mark, you gave me about 22 seconds before we got on the air today. Thanks for that, buddy.
Yeah, happy to help out. There's nothing like live radio.
Nothing like live radio, nothing like live TV. So let's start back at the beginning here for folks that are just tuning in. The Commanders look to be close to returning to RFK. That is your reporting. I will let you fill in what you think are the most relevant details from here, kind of how we learn this, what the money is, and what kind of detail we know about what this project is going to look like so far.
Yeah, sure. So this is, look, if you want the team to come back to D.C., this is great news. This is as close as the two parties have ever been, and it shows that they're working and moving forward. It's important to note it's not a done deal. So these things could change, but there is a framework, and we have NBC Washington obtained a copy of a document that shows a framework in place of a more than $3 billion deal that would have the team putting up to $2.5 billion, and the city putting in up to $850 million toward this project, with a deadline of having the stadium completed in time for the 2030 season kickoff. Now, we know Josh Harris has wanted a stadium to open by that time, so it fits in with his timeline. Again, a source familiar with these negotiations told me nothing is set in stone right now, and that $2.5 billion number could come down a little bit when we finally get to a final deal inked at the bottom line. But this is kind of the framework that we're seeing right now. It also shows, the documents show, that the team would not just build the stadium there, but that they would be the master developer for the entire 180-acre campus along the Anacostia River. And we know that Josh Harris just hired former executive vice president from JGB Smith Development, who was critical in the development of the Amazon 2 headquarters development in Virginia. So this is just the kind of project that guy works on. They would develop the retail and residential and green space components of that along the river there, as well as the stadium and parking facilities. And again, important to note, the D.C. taxpayer money that would go into this, up to $850 million, would be used almost primarily for infrastructure, like the parking structures and roads and things that the city would have to pay for regardless of if a stadium went there or not. Any development that would go there would need massive infrastructure improvements that the district would have to pay for. So that's kind of the overview of the deal that is being worked out right now. But what it really shows is that these two sides are working, moving forward, and have the framework for a deal that needs to get done because of the budget cycles and whatnot within the next month or two.
Mark Seagraves, NBC4 with us. So let's double click on a few things there, Mark. First, we say it's close, things could still happen to prevent this. How do we define close here, and what are the final I's to be dotted, T's to be crossed?
Sure. So I'll use as many sports metaphors as I can beat
yes!
to death. But
I feel like news reporters, when they come on our shows, live for these moments. Like, if you're a sports fan, you're just like, finally, someone who's going to get the thing that I've wanted to say all along.
That's right. I avoid cliches like the plague. Look, we're definitely in the red zone, right? We are very, very close. It doesn't seem like anybody else is, Maryland's not even it doesn't seem to even be in the conversation. It seems like these two sides are locked in, and Mayor Bowser and Josh Harris, who you saw in that picture in the Oval Office with former President Biden when he signed the deal, they transferred the land to the city. They have become good partners and good working partners, and they clearly have a good relationship. So that's a good thing. There are definitely some hurdles ahead. First, the district is facing a more than $400 billion in budget cuts over the next 6 months that have been imposed by Congress, that the district shouldn't have been responsible for, wasn't planning for. And the mayor has said these cuts could be devastating and will impact public safety and transportation, and there are going to be layoffs and cuts in services. So they have to get through that first, and that'll be resolved probably in the next 30 to 45 days. Once they get that done, the mayor can submit her 2026 budget. Now, the mayor said publicly earlier this week that the 2026 budget was completed and ready to transmit to council. That was what triggered me, because I knew, we all knew, that if there was a deal with the team, it was going to have to be in the 2026 budget, because it would need to be approved by council in time to start construction to meet the 2030 deadline, right? And so they would have to get the 2026 budget approved by council and then Congress. There's another big hurdle ahead, and it has to do with zoning. There is a group of residents who have started a petition drive to get an initiative on the ballot that, if it was approved by DC voters, would restrict what could be built on the RFK campus to simply residential and would block a stadium from being there. So that's another hurdle that's in their way. So there are those three legislative hurdles, if you will, ahead of them. But the biggest hurdle the mayor is going to face is selling to the public and the 13 members of the DC Council the idea of putting up hundreds of millions of dollars to help build a stadium at a time when they're making what the mayor has described as devastating cuts to things like public safety, transportation, safety nets, all of that kind of stuff in the face of this budget crisis. So the optics, the timing could not be worse for the mayor, but she's forging ahead. And if you look at this and you compare it to stadium deals around the country, if you're pro stadium, right? If you think a stadium is a good investment for any jurisdiction and you want this team to come back, and you compare this deal to other stadium deals around the country, it's hard to find a deal where you have an owner putting up so much money compared to what the jurisdiction is putting up. And a lot of that is because the land is free. DC got the land from the federal government. Nobody's having to buy the land. So that makes it easier to kind of make this lucrative deal. But if you're pro stadium, pro bringing the team back, then I think you have to look at this deal as a pretty good deal.
So, and did I hear you say correctly, too, that the public money is going to go towards things that they probably would have spent on anyway in that area, no matter what, like whether it's housing, whether it's whatever else could be put on that land, updates to the roads, et cetera.
Right.
That's going to be so.
Right.
So at that point, I guess that's probably going to be their political argument to the public.
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly right. That's what they're going to say. And that's what a lot of council members have said in the past. They're okay with spending money on infrastructure, but not on the actual stadium. And I think that's the line, the demarcation that the mayor is going to try to walk, and again, like parking structures that are going to have to be put in there. They'll certainly serve the stadium, right? The stadium and the NFL requires a certain amount of parking for stadiums, right? And so that will be seen as part of the stadium, but those parking structures will serve the entire complex, not just the stadium. So that will be the argument that they make along those infrastructure improvements and investments.
Mark Seagraves, NBC4 with us. So we spent actually quite a bit of time, thanks to the fact that this is what our first call that we took on this was about, Mark, talking about the neighborhood pushback. How real is that? And then what are we talking about functionally there? Is this something that could be on a citywide ballot? Is this something that is going to be voted on by our elected representatives in the city council? What kind of pushback is coming from the neighborhood, and what kind of arguments or what are the mechanisms to resolve that?
Right. All of the above is your quick answer. So the mayor held a town hall meeting at Eastern High School, which is in the shadow of RFK Stadium there on East Capitol, on right at the stadium there. And it was packed with residents, neighbors, people who live right around the stadium, hundreds of them packed into this high school auditorium to hear the mayor's presentation and ask her questions. And I got to say, I went to that really expecting to see kind of the discontent and firebrand that we're seeing, like congressional representatives getting across the country, right, these days. But in fact, the vast majority of people who were in that room, the residents, seemed open to a stadium and did not, there were some who were like, hey, we'd rather have a grocery store. There are other things we need in this neighborhood before we need a stadium. But there was an immense pushback. But there will be some pushback from residents who live around there who have kind of enjoyed, for the past many years, not having that traffic flowing in there every Sunday morning and out every Sunday night when there's a game. The ballot initiative that is being proposed and worked on is being done by some people who have had great success. Look, in D.C., ballot initiatives have been very successful in getting cannabis legalized or decriminalized, and getting the minimum wage for tipped employees raised. So we have seen legislation by the public through voter initiatives be successful in the past here in D.C. So what would happen is they'll have to get a certain number of signatures to get it on the ballot. They'll probably be able to do that because, again, the people organizing this have done this before. They know how to get those signatures. So you put it on the ballot. Then if more than 50% of the voters approve the ballot initiative, it would become law, and the zoning could block the stadium. Now, the D.C. Council has the authority to overturn the will of the public and voter initiatives if they so desire, and they have in the past. And so my guess is if there's enough support on the council to fund the stadium and the district residents vote against it anyway in the voter initiative, that the council would probably overturn that voter initiative and just incur the wrath of those voters who are upset that, they're going against the will of the voters. And then the other vote the D.C. Council has will be on the budget itself and the financing of this. And then, you'll definitely have some back and forth there, as you always do with legislators when they're, making the sausage. And so we'll have to see how that comes out. But again, in normal budget times, I believe the mayor has enough support to pass this, depending on what it looks like. The question is, will there be enough support from the council during this budget crisis that has been imposed on them by council? I can say, look, if the Congress comes back in a couple of weeks and undoes the $400 million cut to the D.C. budget, as President Trump has instructed them to do, and the Senate has already done, then that's like a gift to the mayor and would make this a whole lot easier. But right now, that is uncertain at best. And so they're moving forward with those cuts. So if the mayor can convince enough council members to make this kind of investment at a time when they're cutting services and jobs, they'll get it done. And I can tell you the mayor's going to put everything she has behind this.
Mark Seagraves, NBC4. And Mark, I hate to do this on the air, but are we good for like another 5 minutes here? I don't want to mess up your next live hit.
Yeah, I can go up to 5:30 with you.
Okay, great. So I got two other main questions, and then hopefully we'll give you back a few minutes of your time. Don't you love when people say that in corporate meetings? It's like, oh, thanks, really appreciate that. The actual facility here, multi-use is the word we're going to hear a lot. And then they're gonna have to figure out what kind of stadium this is, whether this is a dome, whether it's a retractable roof, 50,000, 100,000. What kind of details do we have on the facility type and what kind of stadium, if we have any of those details at this time?
We don't have any of those details at this time right
that's
now.
Easy.
So
Check
none
that
of that is included in there. But I can tell you that when the mayor talks about it, when the team talks about it, everybody talks about a dome. They want a year-round stadium. They want to attract Super Bowl. They want to attract Final Fours. They want to attract World Cup. They want to have a place that, as you said, can be used year-round, not just a few weeks out of the year. That's the big thing about football stadiums is it's not like downtown where you have hockey and basketball in Capital One Arena 100 nights a year, or however many home games they play a year. Here with football, as you know, it's far fewer games. So they're going to want a facility that can be used year-round and get the maximum potential out of it and attract. We were very close to getting the Olympics a few years ago, and a lot of people think the thing that kept us away was, we didn't have a big stadium. We didn't have a dome stadium. We didn't have a great place like that. So that's probably what you're going to see, but I think we're ways off from that.
Yeah, of course, didn't get the Olympics. Also got skipped over for the Men's World Cup in 2026. But Women's World Cup coming in 2031, so that could be one of the major events. It'd be cool to have the final here. I'm just putting that out in the world. Last thing for you, Mark, the timeline here. You mentioned the city council parts of this, the congressional element. What are we watching for next as we follow this story?
I would expect to see the mayor, particularly since our reporting now, and it's out there, and I have to say this, our reporting probably couldn't come at a worse time for the mayor, just because I think she was hoping she would have this $400 million budget cuts resolved and behind her, and then announce this. But she has to present the 2026 budget to the council soon. I mean, she's already late. It's already overdue. So, within a month or not much more, she's going to have to present that 2026 budget to the council. And in that budget will be the stadium deal and the financing for it. And so I would expect to see the mayor making some type of an official announcement as soon as, the next week or two. She doesn't have any public schedule this week. So far, she hasn't put out a public statement on my reporting, but I would suspect that next week, at whatever ribbon cutting or groundbreaking she appears at next week, she'll be facing a lot of questions about this. And I would suspect, again, certainly within a couple of weeks, less than a month, you'll see some type of official announcement, because it will have to come out before the budget comes out.
Mark Seagraves, NBC4 reporter, ruckus maker, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Mark, excellent reporting on this. Thanks for spending some time with us on what must be a ridiculously busy day. We really appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. I really appreciate you having me. My first love has always been live radio, so it's great to be on the air with you guys.
We'll definitely be in touch to have you back. Mark, appreciate it. Thank you. That's Mark Seagraves, everybody. You can catch him tonight, probably here in a few minutes, on NBC4 live at 5:30 and 6, and I'm sure he'll be on the 11 tonight as well. We appreciate his time here on the radio. Fantastic reporting. Now that you've got more insight and details, we get back to your calls. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. 301-230-0980. More of you on this. The Commanders close to returning to RFK next on the Team 980. 301-230-0980 is the phone number here on The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Thanks again to Mark Seagraves, who just joined us with the latest on the RFK story. Commanders very close to finalizing a deal to RFK Stadium. I really enjoyed having Mark on, Anthony, and part because he was funny. Had a couple good one-liners there. He said he's going to avoid cliches like the plague. That's good. I kind of can't believe that I haven't used that one before.
Yeah, he said radio was his first love.
You know what that said to me? I didn't want to say this to him on the air, but that said to me that, sir, when you have an off day from television and this story is getting done, that you're going to come sit down here in this here studio and we're going to talk about this.
That's what it sounded like.
That's what it sounded like to me. See, we're going to see how much you love radio. How much you willing to do an hour? Can I pepper you with questions for an hour? Can we have a little talky talk discussion? see if you like that. But no, I think TV reporters love coming on the radio because on TV everything is, and then blah 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 blah. Back to you. Blah 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 blah. And now the radio is like space to explain. I just did all of this reporting, and you want me to say it in 35 seconds? And I'm like, no. How about 25 minutes? So really appreciate Mark, though, for giving us the time, literally in between live hits today here on the show. So in summary, the Commanders have the framework of a deal in place with the District of Columbia, with the mayor's office, and there's a lot of things that could influence this. But they have the framework of a deal in place that would give them or would land them back into RFK Stadium. They would build the stadium and a lot of the stuff around the stadium. What they wouldn't build is infrastructure. So big fancy word that basically means roads, bridges, potentially metro, all of the ways that you get around the supporting pieces of a multi-use facility. And the Commanders would be in charge of the design of, hey, we're going to put some housing here, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and the stadium would be the centerpiece. And it's funny because maybe funny is not the right word, but for the turn of phrase, it's funny because I think the idea of like Josh Harris and the people he'll hire to be in charge of that, like, who do you trust more, the city government or Josh Harris to hire a good designer? I think most people would probably pick Josh Harris. His history of hiring people is really good. Adam Peters, sweet. Hey, we need to design a football team. Adam Peters. Hey, we need to build a culture from the ground up. Dan Quinn. Sick. Good job. Nick Nurse, one of the best coaches in the NBA. I know the Sixers had a poop year this year, but Nick Nurse is really good. Daryl Morey, he hired. Like, this dude gets good people who have had track records of success. If Josh Harris is going to have to hire a designer, I'm fine with it. And the reason that's funny is because if it was Dan Snyder, we'd all be like, no! Again, it's not necessarily what they do, it's how they do it. That is the biggest difference between those two men. Of course, the what they do is also fairly significant. That said, there are still hurdles. The neighborhood thing is funny to me because it is a very, very loud group of people who do not want this to happen. And that noise makes it very difficult to really suss out, are they loud because there's a lot of them, or are they loud because they're loud? But they will have their say by protesting, by potentially voting on a ballot initiative, by pushing their council member to vote a certain way. But ultimately, if this is a citywide decision, they could get overruled, either by their fellow citizens or, it sounds like, by the city council, who I think thinks this is ultimately going to be a good thing. Because, again, at some point, you're choosing between not having the team and having the team. And there is nowhere else in the district where this could happen. It's this site or no site. There is nowhere else. There was talk at some point of doing it down here and doing something around like the Anacostia side of things, or do you do something, down in this Buzzard Point area, and now all of a sudden you'd have Audi and and whatever new stadium for the Commanders within blocks of each other. Like that's just not going to happen. And so it really is, in a city that is very limited in land area, RFK site or bust. And you can put the stadium where the stadium used to be. And people understand that have been there for a long time how that works and how that goes. And, I go back to, for me, where I land on kind of all of this is what Warren, our caller, said in the first hour of the show, where he said, back in the day, we didn't care as people who lived by that stadium that a lot of people were coming to our neighborhood on Sunday and that there was traffic or whatever, because the Washington, at the time, different name, but the Commanders, as it will be now, are part of our culture. And I do think while there's a government logistics that we discussed in the first hour and that Mark mentioned with the current state of the House of Representatives and them wanting to gut the D.C. budget, this could not come at a worse time governmentally for Mayor Bowser. Forget that she is a Democrat in a Democratic city. Just for this issue, if the election had gone presidentially and certainly even just in the House, gone differently in November, this is a lot easier to get through, which is interesting because for years it was a lot easier to get through. Like, there were a lot of Republicans working on this bill on the RFK side of it. And Dan Snyder, that's where his friends were on that side of the aisle. And it was much more personal than anything super political. But now, as it's become a major piece of what Mayor Bowser wants to do, and I think there's more push for DC within Democratic circles, DC to have control over itself, and it's clear that a lot of people in DC want this to happen. Then it's gotten now push from odd bedfellows on both sides of the political aisle. But it has become hard because of the seeming vengeance that a lot of House Republicans have for the district, for whatever political reasons they want to throw out there and say. But the fact that President Trump has gotten on board, and the Senate has already fixed this hole in the budget bill, but that President Trump has said, hey, we should fix this, get this $400 million passed, is I think, a good sign for that getting done. He seems to have get whatever he wants in the House of Representatives these days. And in this case, that should be a good thing for this stadium. What it says about the larger checks and balances of American society is a different show on a different station. But for this, that might just work out in the Commanders' favor. But while that's the political wins, it is worth mentioning this couldn't be happening at a better time from a football standpoint. There has not been more excitement in this city about the football team than there has in a decade. And that also, in its own way, is political, right? If we substitute political for, like, popular, how does this affect the politics? How does this affect the popularity, the story that can be told? Doing this for Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn and Terry McLaurin is way different than doing this for the parade of boobs that was running this franchise beforehand, and the absolute clown show that was the Snyder Bruce Allen era, who was trying to get this done for years. And that was Bruce will get it done. He knows the politicians, then he's well connected. Nope. Josh Harris has been here for 5 minutes, and he got it done because he's good and competent at his job. And Mitch Rales is good and competent, and Magic Johnson is good and competent. And they have real political connections with real political capital, and it's a lot easier to sell it to them and to the public when you can be like, hello, this is our product. Have you met Jaden Daniels? And so from the political side, if you will, that is connected to the football, while the Washington wins, if you will, are blowing in the face of Mayor Bowser, she has a tremendous wind at her back from the actual football team, on and off the field. And that's why I ultimately think this will get done, is because the more the Commanders win, the easier it is for her to make the argument in spite of whatever else is happening in the world, because this is ultimately a legacy project for her, and she will use political capital to get this done because it is a signature achievement of her mayorship if she does. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We can take some calls on this next at 301-230-0980. That is how we'll round out the hour here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to take a quick respite from the RFK news of the day. Niele Ivey is the head coach of Notre Dame's women's basketball. Of course, Sonia Citron is one of the Mystics draft picks. In fact, she was the top Mystics draft pick. She was number 3 overall. And I was able to catch up with Coach Ivey, who's just an electric person. Was able to catch up with her a little bit earlier today. We're going to air that for you at 6 o'clock and then get right back to the RFK news starting at 6:15 through the rest of the show. So Niele Ivey, head coach, women's basketball at Notre Dame. Coach Sonia Citron, I can tell you, she said that Sonia changed your life. And you can tell, we were talking a little bit before we started taping, just she literally goes, I'll do anything for Sony. So doing the interview was nothing for her because in her mind, she's doing it for Sonia. And it just seems like the Mystics got 3 really, really special people and players as well in this draft. So we'll let you hear our chat with Niele Ivey coming up at 6 o'clock. Right now, though, Mark Seagraves joined us a little bit earlier in the show, earlier this hour, talking about the news that RFK Stadium is going to be the home of the Commanders once again. At least that's what we're close to, and that is Mark's reporting. We're close. So how close is close? Here with Seagraves.
Yeah, sure. So this is, look, if you want the team to come back to D.C., this is great news. This is as close as the two parties have ever been, and it shows that they're working and moving forward. It's important to note it's not a done deal. So these things could change, but there is a framework, and we have NBC Washington obtained a copy of a document that shows a framework in place of a more than $3 billion deal that would have the team putting up to $2.5 billion and the city putting in up to $850 million toward this project with a deadline of having the stadium completed in time for the 2030 season kickoff. Now, we know Josh Harris has wanted a stadium to open by that time, so it fits in with his timeline. Again, a source familiar with these negotiations told me nothing is set in stone right now, and that $2.5 billion number could come down a little bit when we finally get to a final deal inked at the bottom line. But this is kind of the framework that we're seeing right now. It also shows, the documents show, that the team would not just build the stadium there, but that they would be the master developer for the entire 180-acre campus along the Anacostia River. And we know that Josh Harris just hired former executive vice president from JGB Smith Development, who was critical in the development of the Amazon 2 headquarters development in Virginia. So this is just the kind of project that guy works on. They would develop the retail and residential and green space components of that along the river there, as well as the stadium and parking facilities. And again, important to note, the D.C. taxpayer money that would go into this, up to $850 million, would be used almost primarily for infrastructure, like the parking structures and roads and things that the city would have to pay for regardless of if a stadium went there or not. Any development that would go there would need massive infrastructure improvements that the district would have to pay for. So that's kind of the overview of the deal that is being worked out right now. But what it really shows is that these two sides are working, moving forward, and have the framework for a deal that needs to get done because of the budget cycles and whatnot within the next month or two.
So that is the kind of state of play where we are. But then there's the question of what are we actually working on here? What is a multi-use facility? What kind of stadium do we have? And, well, we don't know the details yet. We do know some of what is being worked on.
We don't have any of those details at this time right
that's
now.
Easy.
So,
Check
and none
that
of that
off
is included in there. But I can tell you that when the mayor talks about it, when the team talks about it, everybody talks about a dome. They want a year-round stadium. They want to attract Super Bowl. They want to attract Final Fours. They want to attract World Cup. They want to have a place that, as you said, can be used year-round, not just, a few weeks out of the year. That's the big, thing about football stadiums is, it's not like downtown where you have hockey and basketball in Capital One Arena 100 nights a year, or however many home games they play a year. Here with football, as you know, it's far fewer games. So they're going to want a facility that can be used year round and get the maximum potential out of it and attract. We were very close to getting the Olympics a few years ago, and a lot of people think the thing that kept us away was, we didn't have a big stadium. We didn't have a dome stadium. We didn't have a great place like that. So that's probably what you're going to see, but I think we're ways off from that.
So that is, to me, is the most likely scenario here, is you get a multi-purpose, multi-use deal that is centered around a stadium that is going to be used many, many nights a year. We're talking concerts. We're talking soccer games, like big international type soccer games. When the All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team, comes and plays, like that could be a thing. But also international tournaments of a variety of kinds. You could see in soccer, there's a Club World Cup that's coming where the biggest clubs in the world are all going to play. I could see that being hosted in the U.S. and D.C. hosting. Obviously, Commanders games, Super Bowl, or multiple over the course of years if it goes well. Places to put people who are in town for those events. So some kind of hotel situation. You're also going to talk about upgrades to the roads, upgrades to the metro, upgrades to a lot of different stuff. This is a massive, massive project, and getting it right, the details are going to matter. And those are the things that will be hashed out behind closed doors in some cases, or in big, giant, open, public meetings over the next couple of years. But ultimately, by 2026, like, the construction needs to start. They need to get this going, because otherwise it just keeps getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. And they're going to have to keep putting more and more money into FedEx to make it workable in the meantime, when they much rather be investing in the new stadium and doing the bare minimum to have a good experience at FedEx, while also not making it, feeling like they're throwing money away on something that is going to be torn down probably in a couple of years. And hopefully, the community in Landover that really got screwed over by Dan Snyder can then get their own multi-purpose, type of facility, and whether it's green spaces, which I think will also be a part of this RFK site. It's a massive site, 180 acres is a ton of space. So green spaces, restaurants, shops, whatever it is that they want in Landover that the Commanders have committed to the state of Maryland and to PG County to develop, that they can ultimately get started on their project as well. And this can be a win for both the D and the M. And folks from Virginia, y'all can come to games too. Stop and Show, we're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We'll get back to more of what Mark Seagraves had to say and more of your reaction in the 6 o'clock hour. But next, the head coach of Notre Dame women's basketball and the coach of Sonia Citron at Notre Dame, Neil Ivey, joins us to talk about the Mystics' newest draftee here on your home for Mystics basketball, the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980 as well on the free app, and of course streaming on YouTube. It's 80. We're your home. Basketball. We've been covering the draft all week, and yesterday we were really fortunate to have Kenny Brooks from Kentucky on, Georgia Amore. Today we're keeping the coach parade continuing. Nia Ivy joins the University of Notre Dame, where she had Sonia Citron, and I was so excited to meet Sonia today and meet Georgia and Kiki today, and after what them through this process and watching what Kenny said yesterday. It seems like a really special person, and that's really what attracted her to the Mystics. So what is it about her that stands out to you where she is a player that I know means quite a bit to you?
Oh, my gosh. She is just a phenomenal person. She is obviously an incredible athlete. She can play both sides of the ball. She was a glue player for me here at Notre Dame. It meant so much to us. We were a different team when we did not have her on the floor. But what I love about Sony is her heart. She's very loyal. She works so hard. She comes from an amazing family, incredible parents, and she's just caring. You know, she's going to light up a room. She's going to be the hardest worker on the team. She's very unselfish, so coachable, and she just wants to win. She's a dog, and just such an incredible human. And I just think my life has been so much better being her coach in the last 4 years, and I'm going to miss her so much from what she's done for our program.
It's so you say her and having watched it, so know that she is a dog. But to me, I think it's really both George and Peter the ACC. He's kind of sweet people, and so he's kind of almost soft spoken. And a switch that out for you that slipped from. Oh wow, or maybe you suffer. You make sense of the two sides of Sonya.
Yeah, she's a able player, and she never needed the spotlight, but her light is just so bright, and so she turned, she'll just go into a game and very understated. She's never too high or too low. We call her the silent assassin because she has the ability to literally take over game, but she's so unselfish. There were times even her freshman year I had to force her to shoot the ball more because she just wanted to get everybody involved. She's very okay with not having the light on her, but again, like I said, but her light's just too bright, and I just love how everybody, past couple of seasons, past couple of years have recognized and realized how gifted and how talented she is. And every year she's gotten better. She's poured so much into her game, and she plays so hard. She plays for her teammates, and she has the ability to take over games. She's capable of dropping a quiet 35 points, but also stopping one of the best defenders, one of the best players. So she's also, not only did I rely on her scoring, but she also had to guard our opponent's best player. So for somebody that can do both, I think that's what separates her from a lot in her draft class.
Neil Ivey's with us, head coach, Notre Dame women's basketball here on the Hoffman Show. Take me back to time that either in person films your what time you were aware of from.
So she played before she played over to a bigger program, the EYBL League with the Philly Rise. She played on a smaller circuit in New York, and I was like, wow, she just stood out, on that court, smaller court. And then when she started playing on the higher level with EYBL, just her skill set, what stood out to me, just a big guard, somebody that had such efficiency, the way that she scored the basketball, could score in multiple ways. But then again, just having the versatility to either, run the point or, to be off guard. She could do it all, and could play 1 through 4 position, could defend the 1 through 4 position. I was blown away when I first saw her.
So she was, you said a lot, grow, got back.
She worked on her shot a little bit, trying to get a quicker release, worked on her ball handling. There was a point in our season, I think her junior year, point guard went out, and so she had to run the point for me. So she's had a lot of, versatility within her game, just making reads, things like that. But I think working on her shot made it, a quicker release. So her 3-point shot got better every year. And then just, again, her ability to read off ball screen action, she got more efficient, shooting from behind the ball screen, her finishes to the rim, things that she got better at. And then just defensively, she loves to defend. So that was something that she just got better, just getting stronger and those type of things. But I just think her efficiency from the her 3-point range, and then her finishes to the rim, I think she did a great job of working on that and got better every year.
Years out when coming back, is played in the back, kind of telling them, from now, fit the heck they are now. Just what are you about her? The one you for your Sonya. This is
what I love for the game just was outstanding. I think her love and unselfishness, the way that she played the game, she played with her heart. Gave it her all, And I guess for me, from a perspective from a coach, just the most caring and most loyal player and most coachable player I've ever been around. And that's the stuff that you can't teach. And then I think just the way that she plays, just being a silent assassin. So my story would be, we were, at Louisville. I think she dropped 32 points that game, and that was a game where she just took over. We lost a player, and she took over the second half and led us to to that victory, and we end up actually winning the league because of that game. So kind of took her team on her back. And just literally took over that game, and that was a game that we need, a must-win game for us, outside of having a lot of adversity that game. So that's the particular game that I would talk about. But I think the thing I love about talking about her the most is who she is as a person. I think that speaks more volumes than the basketball piece.
Be with us for a minute on the Hoffman Show, of course, of women's basketball to Toronto and Washington. She's on the 80. Orange here was this. For your fashion as well. Sonia, by the way, a nice gooch for her at the conference. You know, just they didn't fit. Let me just off. She had it like that in the fashion.
She's so bad. When we first posted when they posted the first picture of her on the orange carpet, I was blown away. She looked like an Italian Vogue model. Just always, it's been so beautiful. But she just, she's very simple and just beautiful in a simple way. She'll just, rock her. She got a lot of swag to her. She'll rock her, her shoes or her tennis shoes and jeans, and very kind of very quiet the way that she styles herself, but. I thought she killed it on the orange carpet, so I thought she was best dressed. I'm being biased, but she looked gorgeous. Like I said, she looked like a runway model. I was blown away.
I'd be biased. Everyone's in the fifth carpet after the article. People magazine is doing it at the top of your. Some bias is correct. So
correct.
Correct. More is it a little bit, and not her because you against her so on the ACC. Plenty of yesterday and things. So I have to answer the return. But really talked to she talked to teammate and the relief of that started by him anymore. They have against that felt in the but just an player. A great career in the ACC before going to last year. What can you tell? And also in their sick pick this year.
I heard great points, but I was always impressed the way that she scores the ball, being smaller. She knows how to create her shot. She knows she knows her strength. She has a great mid-range game, and then some people just have a knack to score, and she has that. She makes tough shots. She plays with such a high IQ, and like I said, she's just gritty. She's just solid all the way around, and so strong. And you can tell she's confident. You can tell she's unselfish. I just from outside looking in, she seems just like an incredible teammate and a great person. And I think when you have two high, and I always say that about Kiki as well, because knowing the recruiting process with her. You have players that are going to be great in the locker room. They're going to enhance the culture, and they're all about winning. You could tell Georgia is all about winning, and she's going to do whatever it takes, and she's going to run through a wall for that coaching staff. Is what it looks like, and that's what you're going to get with Sony. But I'm a big fan of Georgia, so I think those two in the backcourt is going to be very special.
For sure, and it's a lot, coach. Like gunshot, just bunch area. Hearing her in Georgia, same thing. Are these just try to kill? It is disorienting almost, but that leads, especially when they're the best people. Like got throws. Coach, really appreciate the time of your recruiting and everything. Best of luck this off and into maybe we'll see for a game at some point this summer.
Oh, you definitely will. You
awesome.
Definitely will. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. And earlier in the show, Mark Seagraves, NBC4, joined us on the story of the day, and that is that the Washington Commanders are very likely returning to RFK Stadium. It is very close to being done. The full interview is available by using the Rewind feature in the Odyssey app. It's in our podcast feed, or you can catch it on YouTube. The on-demand version will be up shortly at Craig Hoffman and at the Team 980, or you can just rewind in the live stream. Also, I know that our interview with Neil Ivey got a little choppy there on the video side. The full interview on that front will be up here at the Team 980 and is up now on my Women's Sports YouTube page at Hoffman W Sports. So if you caught maybe parts of that and you want to check out the full thing uninterrupted on the video side, youtube.com/at Hoffman W Sports. But Mark Seagraves joined us earlier, the NBC4 reporter who broke this story that the Commanders have the framework of a deal with D.C. that is in the mayor's budget proposal that she is submitting to City Council. Seagraves detailed a lot of stuff with us, but really, what are the final steps is the big question here. Like, how do we get this thing across the finish line, and what hurdles remain in the way? Here was Seagraves on all of those things.
Sure. So I'll use as many sports metaphors as I can beat to
Yes!
death. But
I feel like news reporters, when they come on our shows, live for these moments. Like, if you're a sports fan, you're just like, finally, someone who's going to get the thing that I've wanted to say all along.
That's right. I avoid cliches like the plague. Look, we're definitely in the red zone, right? We are very, very close. It doesn't seem like anybody else is, Maryland's not even it doesn't seem to even be in the conversation. It seems like these two sides are locked in, and Mayor Bowser and Josh Harris, who you saw in that picture in the Oval Office with former President Biden when he signed the deal, they transferred the land to the city. They have become good partners and good working partners, and they clearly have a good relationship. So that's a good thing. There are definitely some hurdles ahead. First, the district is facing a more than $400 billion in budget cuts over the next 6 months that have been imposed by Congress that the district shouldn't have been responsible for, wasn't planning for, and the mayor has said these cuts could be devastating and will impact public safety and transportation, and there are going to be layoffs and cuts in services. So they have to get through that first, and that'll be resolved probably in the next 30 to 45 days. Once they get that done, the mayor can submit her 2026 budget. Now, the mayor said publicly earlier this week that the 2026 budget was completed and ready to transmit to council. That was what triggered me, because we all knew that if there was a deal with the team, it was going to have to be in the 2026 budget, because it would need to be approved by council in time to start construction to meet the 2030 deadline, right? And so they would have to get the 2026 budget approved by council and then Congress. There's another big hurdle ahead, and it has to do with zoning. There is a group of residents who have started a petition drive to get an initiative on the ballot that, if it was approved by D.C. voters, would restrict what could be built on the RFK campus to simply residential and would block a stadium from being there. So that's another hurdle that's in their way. So there are those three legislative hurdles, if you will, ahead of them. But the biggest hurdle the mayor is going to face is selling to the public and the 13 members of the D.C. Council the idea of putting up hundreds of millions of dollars to help build a stadium at a time when they're making what the mayor has described as devastating cuts to things like public safety, transportation, safety nets, all of that kind of stuff in the face of this budget crisis. So the optics, the timing could not be worse for the mayor, but she's forging ahead. And if you look at this and you compare it to stadium deals around the country, if you're pro-stadium, right, if you think a stadium is a good investment for any jurisdiction and you want this team to come back, and you compare this deal to other stadium deals around the country, it's hard to find a deal where you have an owner putting up so much money compared to what the jurisdiction is putting up. And a lot of that is because the land is free. DC got the land from the federal government. Nobody's having to buy the land. So that makes it easier to kind of make this lucrative deal. But if you're pro-stadium, pro-bringing the team back, then I think you have to look at this deal as a pretty good deal.
And that's the thing that I've kind of been wondering all along with this situation is what kind of money will Josh Harris put up? And it seems based off this agreement that the Commanders and the mayor's office have is he's going to put up a lot. That he is ready to put his money where his mouth is. That when he says, DC, the spiritual home of the team, is at RFK, that this is what he wants to do. They've obviously tried to make sure that they leave Maryland in a good place because they think they do genuinely care about doing that and fulfilling promises made to the community in Landover and in PG County that Dan Snyder never kept. But at the end of the day, this is what they want to do. And they also understand that doing that in the district where, one, there's a ton of civic engagement, and two, there's not as many people as if you could get a stadium funded by the Commonwealth of Virginia and all of its residents, or even Maryland, which is not nearly as big of a state as Virginia, but still has plenty of people, that if you can spread out the tax needs over many more hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people in terms of population, that becomes a lot easier of a sell. It is an easier sell. They don't have that luxury in DC. If they were going to do it, they were always going to have to put up a ton of money. And while 500 to 800 million is still a lot of public money, compared to the total price tag, this is about as good of a deal as I think I've seen in sports for the public on the financial side. Now, of course, there's a lot of other hurdles to get through, as Mark just laid out, and we'll continue to follow it here on the Team 980. When we get back, we can either talk more about this. Phone lines are wide open. So if you want to get in on this, now's the time. 301-230-0980. If not, we'll switch gears and talk about the NBA games last night and what lies ahead tonight here on The Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Playing our go-go music with some really deep bass in this one. I can't remember another song that we play coming out of break, Anthony, where I literally hear the thump, like feel the thump of the bass in my headphones.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't have my headphones on.
You never have I don't understand. Oh, we talked about it before. I truly don't understand how the hell you do your job without headphones.
They make my ears hurt.
You do a good job, too. That's the thing. I mean, I guess for a lot of this, you don't have to.
But when you're away, I use my headphones. I feel like when you're here, I can hear you.
I guess. But then, like, if your mic's on and you're fading out, you're just going by feel. This is so nerdy radio talk. But, like, you just, like, if you're fading out a song and your mic is on. So people understand. When Anthony's mic is off, there are speakers in his studio that he can hear. When your mic goes on in a radio studio, it cuts off the speakers. So if you're not wearing headphones, theoretically you can't hear. But Anthony just turns his headphones up real loud. Not too loud that he gets feedback in the mic, but loud enough that he can kind of hear.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And you're still, like, your levels are still pretty good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I understand, like, you know, if it's at 10, 40, 20, like, I understand, like, where or how loud the music is or how loud somebody is. So, yeah.
I guess. All right, so tomorrow on the show, we're going to go mega football heavy. So we will do our mock draft. I think we're just going to stick with the schedule, Anthony. I think we just go 4 o'clock hour on that. So
okay.
tomorrow.
I changed it around, too.
Oh, did you?
I changed around the sheet.
And it worked?
It did work out. Like, the entire show is, like, planned for tomorrow.
Oh, Anthony, what's on the show tomorrow?
Well, I got to pull it up now.
All right, well, you do that. I'm going to tell you that tell everybody else that we're brought to you by the Maryland Vehicle Theft Prevention Council. Maryland drivers, did you know a vehicle is stolen every 16 minutes in the state of Maryland? The key to preventing theft is in your hands. Lock your car, take your key, use an anti-theft device. Learn more about vehicle theft prevention at mdauthotheft.org. Anthony, what's on the show tomorrow since you've apparently planned it?
All right, so we don't have the first 2 segments done. All right, hold on. Let me redeem myself. 4:30.
Before you redeem it, you are the absolute ace of, I got this covered. All right, tell me about it. I don't got it covered.
It is covered. Watch this.
I'm king of the clip. Messed up on the first day of it.
Watch this, Craig. So 4:30, 4:45, we have never read the comments. The 4 o'clock hour rarely ever gets that.
Okay.
5 o'clock hour, we got our mock draft 2.0, where trades will be allowed to trade, and also I have the Commanders pick.
Yep.
And then at 6 we have Take Command, and then 6:30 we have Mike Vorkunov.
Dang. That is pretty good. Although
Thank you.
I gotta the Vorkunov thing. So Mike Vorkunov is a writer for The Athletic who wrote this big story on sports gambling and kind of went behind the scenes of the Jonte Porter thing and how there's a much bigger investigation that Porter was a part of. Like, he's a branch on a tree. We thought he was a tree. And it's like, nope, there is a lot more here. So I want to talk to Vorkunov on that. And I want to have a discussion on the show about sports gambling. That's what we were going to do today until this RFK news broke. We were going to have a giant sports gambling discussion. So maybe we'll do that on Friday. But we'll figure it out. But we're gonna chat with Vorkunov tomorrow, and then we can if we even wind up playing that. We also have Jamila Weideman, an interview that we're gonna play today. It's only about 5 minutes. Tell you what, we'll probably put that in the podcast feed and on our YouTube pages, and we might play that on the radio tomorrow as well. So we'll figure out because I mean the Mystics GM took the time to talk to us, so we're not gonna not let you hear it. But we also did not expect. Literally news we've been waiting on for 10 years to break 22 seconds before our show started. So sometimes it'd be like that. All right. What we did expect last night, I guess kind of happened. The Orlando Magic beat the absolute crap out of the Atlanta Hawks. Also, YouTube TV beat the crap out of my recording of that game. Something happened in the final 7 minutes to take it from a 10-point win to a 25-point win. I don't know what it is, Anthony, because I actually went back to go to watch it. And then my recording cut off. I also know Trae Young got thrown out.
Yeah, he got ejected at the end of the game. But actually, Craig, it was actually closer than a 10-point game. It was like a 3-point game.
Well, it was a 3-point game late in the third quarter. The Hawks went on a really nice run in the third quarter. Orlando couldn't hit shots. It was funny because Brian Anderson and Stan Van Gundy, you had the game, were like, man, this is a tense building. And it's still like a 10-point game. But like it was almost like Magic fans knew something bad's about to happen. And they pull it to within 3. I think it was 71-68. And then Orlando pulls ahead again. And then George Niang hits a 3 to cut it back to, I think, 7 or 6 going into the fourth quarter. And then 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, bye-bye to my recording, and also bye-bye to hope for the Hawks, because the final score was, I think, 115-90 or something like that. Like it was a 25-point win by the end.
They whooped them.
Belt to butt in the fourth quarter.
It got ugly. Trey needed some help. Just couldn't hit shots, to be honest. And then also Cole Anthony and Anthony Black off the bench for the Magic, like, that helps. The thing about the Magic, they have a lot of young talent, and the fact that they drafted Cole Anthony to be a starter, they drafted Anthony Black also to be a starter, and they have both of them coming off the bench with a Gary Neal. Like, they have a lot of young talent out over there. So the fact that, it's panning out and they're able to use that depth that they have of young talent is really good.
For sure. Black was a guy that I liked a lot in the 2023 draft. Wizards didn't have a chance to get him. They had the 7th pick that year, or the 8th pick that year, and traded up to 7 to get Bilal. So, like, Bilal Coulibaly's, I think, going to be just fine. I don't know how much better Anthony Black, if Anthony Black will wind up being the better player at all in the long term. But, man, right now, that kid can play. And Cole Anthony is, like, an excellent 6-man. And the thing is, like, Banchero didn't even have that dominant of a night.
Nope.
It's just that
nothing. Yeah,
it's just that, like, the Hawks, it's Trey or bust. And that is, we talked about it yesterday, that is how they have been this entire time. And I think the only way for them to get out of the cycle is probably to trade Trae Young, which sucks. But sometimes it be like that. He's getting to the point in his career where he's going to be really expensive, and he's suddenly not going to fit the timeline of the rest of your team. And you mess that up, and the best way to kind of make up for that mistake of screwing up a really good player and your chances to win while you have him is to trade him while he's still got value. If not, you re-sign him and you give him no trade clause, and your name's the Washington Wizards of 20,000.
I knew that was coming.
20. What else am I supposed to do, Anthony?
No, you're right. You're right.
Am I supposed to just not mention the elephant in the room? Hey, guys, there's an elephant over there. Anybody else notice? Or you could maximize your entire superstar's prime, and that superstar could actually be a generational player, and that's the Warriors and Steph Curry. They fell down early in this game. Like, that's the thing, is they wound up in the end having to hold off a furious comeback by the Grizzlies late in this game, and they had just the guy to do it in Steph Curry. But it was Jimmy Butler early in this game who got them out of their first hole, because they were down, was 11-2, I think it was, to start the game?
Yeah, it was like 10-3, I think.
Yeah, it was not good. And then Jimmy and for a large point, by the way, when Steph was on the bench, which is the worst thing that can happen if you're playing the Warriors, is, we lost the minutes that Curry wasn't on the floor? Cool. There's not that many of those to begin with once you get to playoff time, but they lost those minutes in that stretch, and Butler was just incredible, and then Steph comes in and closes it off. Their aggressiveness of those two guys, 31 free throws between the two of them. And by the way, they made 25 of them. Curry went 13 of 13 from the line, and Butler went 12 of 18. Curry also went 6 of 13 from 3.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler, man, early in that game, the run that you're talking about, they went on a 26-7 run. I was like, my goodness, like, they were just getting steal after steal after steal. And they talk about Moses Moody, they talk about Brandon Prudzinski, they talk about the deflections they get when Draymond and Jimmy Butler are on the court. And this is why you go out and trade for a guy like Jimmy Butler, for him to, step up in these big moments. And then the fact that you have Steph Curry down the stretch where he's not playing 40-plus minutes because you have Jimmy Butler going out here scoring 38 and, providing that extra lift early in the game so you can have your real closer who only played like 33 minutes come in and close the way he did. So the Warriors are going to be so scary. I'm not going to lie, Craig. I don't know who to pick in the Warriors-Rockets series. I mean, I think I'll be a fool to pick against Steph Curry, but those Rockets are also really good too, and they've had, the Warriors number. So I'm excited for that series. I really am.
Yeah, no, I'm way excited for the series, and I think the Warriors. We'll do predictions, I guess, Friday because the official playoff starts Saturday. But write that down in the rundown, Anthony. Put that maybe in one of the first 2 segments, since we'd. That's a joke. It's a callback. We'll figure out the first 2 segments tomorrow. But Friday, let's definitely make sure we make our playoff first round predictions. I'll be picking the Warriors because the other thing about Jimmy Butler is Jimmy seems to have a shelf life places, and Miami got pretty good run out of it. 4 or 5 years worth of good Jimmy. Chicago got 4 or 5 years worth. Minnesota got a couple. Jimmy at this stage, I think, understands where he is in his timeline of his career, and he is embracing being Robin and is understands that Steph is Batman. Jimmy Butler is never shy on confidence. He had this. Do we actually have the Butler quote? Did I send that to you yesterday on Instagram?
Yeah,
of
you
his
did. I haven't pulled it
post-game?
yet.
Okay. You've got to hear the quote that Jimmy Butler had post-game tonight. We'll play it for you as part of Real Things Real People said into microphones coming up next. But basically he was like, Steph, he acknowledged Steph is better than me. And for a player like Jimmy, and it's easier to do it when he's your teammate, for a player like Jimmy to be like, I'm number 2 to that guy, you're going to get the best version of Jimmy Butler. And I think he's he's made the finals multiple times. He wants that ring. I think he sees himself as a winner, and he wants the jewelry to back it up. And that version of Jimmy Butler is terrifying for opponents. Going to be very, very fun to see them play a young, hungry, scrappy, but very inexperienced Rockets team. And by the way, also shout out Moses Moody. He's quickly become one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire league. Was all over John Morant from tip last night. Did an excellent job on him, and is going to be giving Fred VanVleet and the Rockets guards plenty of trouble in that series. Tonight, you have the 2, 9, 10 games. These are the big loser games, according to the Charles Barkley scale. You have tonight Heat versus Bulls, Butler's old team, of course. The Bulls, by the way, are 18-14. 4 games over 500 since the Zach LaVine trade. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Mavs, what's left of them? Anthony Davis is back, so that's nice for them. They're at Sacramento tonight, so that'll be a fun one. Late, of course, the winner of these games faces the losers of the games we just talked about. The losers of these games, they go fishing. ESPN tonight for the telecast. All right, you'll hear the Butler quote and more as part of Real Things next. First, a look at what's trending. BetMGM tonight coming up at 7 here on the Team 980. Craig Hoffman with you, Anthony Haney alongside here for the final few minutes of today's edition of the Hoffman Show. I feel like that was the most inefficient way I could have possibly said that, Anthony.
I think that was good.
Sure. Sometimes I get bored saying the same stuff. I feel like a robot.
Hey, quick question. What was your favorite go-go song that I played today?
Oh, God, I don't even remember them all.
It's okay. I'm going to play more tomorrow.
Excellent. Love it. My favorite thing on the show today, Mark Seagraves was great. Talking to Niele Ivey was such a treat. Like, we have been, I like when cool people answer our calls. And it can be cool local media reporters, or it can be basketball coaches, which we've had the last 2 days with Kenny Brooks and Niele Ivey. I genuinely hope that we get to run into them at some Mystics games this summer. Let's get some on the schedule. Let's be in touch with their people. That way we can do shows when they're at games, and maybe they'll come like co-host a half hour with us.
Hey, look, we got some plugs over in the Mystics organization, so we'll figure out when they're coming so we can align to run into them.
Like, oh, we heard you might be coming to the game. We're there.
Exactly.
Look how that worked out. If you want to hear Niele Ivey rave about one of her favorite players she ever has coached at Notre Dame, Sonia Citron, the new Mystics guard, then check out our YouTube Rewind, our Odyssey app Rewind, or, of course, our podcast feed. Just search The Hoffman Show in your favorite podcast app. Also at Hoffman W Sports on YouTube. I am literally staring at the Jamila Weideman interview that we did today as well. That is about to be up, and I'll send you the audio so that you can put it in the podcast feed as well as a special bonus. Because of the RFK news, we didn't get to air that today. But we might still air it for you tomorrow. So if you just want to keep listening to the radio all the time, we're not going to hate on that either. But we know you're busy people, trying to give you options. Okay, tomorrow on the show, Mock Draft 2.0. Trades are live between me and Anthony. We'll see how many we throw down. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Also tomorrow, Take Command, Jeremy Green joins me for a big, gigantic mock draft, multiple round style. We'll tap into his depth of knowledge on this draft class before Logan comes back next week from his vacation. Any other housekeeping, Anthony?
I think that's everything.
All right. Thanks again to the Mystics for having us over at the press conference today. That was a good time. Maybe have some stuff come out of that as well. But as for now, oh, by the way, the other thing on the docket tomorrow, Will Dawkins speaks at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Wizards season-ending press conference. I will be there, so we'll get some audio from that. I did see Will today at the Mystics press conference, Anthony. He said, don't plan your show around me tomorrow. He's ready to be lock-lipped. If he could do no press, he'd be so happy. But he's so good at it. Will, you're such a good talker. You're so smart. But then he doesn't want anybody to know his secrets. Anyway, if Will says anything, we'll share it with you tomorrow. It's time for Real Things.
Real things.
We're not gonna be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, it is not often that you hear an NBA player just be like, yeah, that guy's better than me, and I'm happy to support him. But it's easier when it's your teammate, and when you're on the Warriors and you're not Steph Curry, and that guy's Steph Curry, I guess it is pretty easy. Jimmy Butler last night at the post-game press conference.
I think any team has a chance when I'm on a team, but I know that every team has a chance if Steph's on the team. So I get to play Robin. That's my Batman, and I don't know who else is. We got all the villains over there, Two-Face and Joker and Riddler, everybody else in the Western Conference. But we got a lot of games to win.
What a bar. One, we get that first part of the quote so good.
I think any team has a chance when I'm on a team, but I know that every team has a chance if Steph's on the team.
That is a bar. And then he drops like the Joker, the Riddler, because it's a double entendre. Nikola Jokic, plus the Batman reference.
Yeah.
Who does the Riddler of the Western Conference?
That's what I was about to ask. Is it
I feel like it's got to be LeBron.
Luka?
It could be Luka. What's LeBron? Superman? How we got a Batman Superman crossover?
LeBron, I don't know. LeBron is Superman. He has to be Superman.
I feel like he's got to be. Superwoman in this town might be Trinity Rodman, the Washington Spirit star, U.S. Women's National Team star, Olympic gold medalist. And apparently, one of her biggest fans is none other than new Mystic, Georgia Amore. And thus, the Mystics were able to set up a video for Amore on draft night from Trin.
Hey Georgia, it's Trinity here. Just wanted to give you a huge congrats on being drafted. Welcome to the WNBA. Happy you're with the Mystics. Hopefully we can get you out to a Washington Spirit game. We can hang out, do whatever. But I'm very honored and happy that you're a fan of mine. And I'm just, very excited to see what you do now on your new journey. And yeah, happy for you. Congrats.
That's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, how did you, Trinity, DM me, I'll give you my number, we'll work on plans, I will come out to a game. Actually, I'll be more than one games. I'll be there, I'll be your biggest fan, I am your biggest fan. I'm so excited that it aligned and I'm with the Mystics. But yeah, actually, now that my fangirl is over, I really appreciate it and it's very cool. And yeah, just a huge thank you.
I have two favorite parts about this, Anthony. One, Georgia Amore doesn't need to do anything but for tickets except for ask Aaliyah Edwards, because Aaliyah is at a ton of the games. Aaliyah has become a Spirit super fan, which I feel partly responsible for, because I was like, you should go check out, you'll like it a lot, and then she did. Two, Georgia Amore is almost 2 full years older than Trinity Rodman.
Oh my, for real?
This is my favorite Trinity Rodman thing of all time. Trin has been on our radar for so long, but it started when she was 18 years old.
God dang.
Trin is 22. She's not even 23 until November.
That's
Georgia
insane.
just turned 24.
That's insane, man.
So
we're gonna bump into them at some games then.
We probably will. We probably will bump into Trent at some Mystics games and Georgia at some Spirit games, and I think that's hilarious. Oh my God, I'm fangirling so hard. You're like my hero, and you're 2 years older or younger than me. Sometimes it'd be like that. That's our show. See you tomorrow.